Hey, this is Brian with the Seat Shop, as well as Christy. Today we're going to walk you through some Lexus installs. So this is on the RX model. We're going to walk you through how to install a new driver's side bottom. Now, Christy will tell you all the models that this thing goes to. It's quite a few and a pretty big year range as well.
Yeah, so this actual cover will fit the RX 330, the RX 350, and the RX 400 hybrid for all the years from 2004 to 2009.
So there's three colors. They've got a black, tan, and a gray. A little bit later we'll show you how to locate the trim code number. There's a badge on the inside of the driver's side door frame to be able to look that stuff up. But we'll get to a lot of that stuff here in a little bit. So now we're going to go ahead and start stripping this apart. So the first thing we really got to do is start pulling all the plastic off. There's not that many screws to it, but there's Christy will walk us through where all the screws are. Just a regular Phillips head to start pulling these apart so we can strip this plastic off and get down to where this cover is clipped onto the frame.
Yeah. So the great thing about this actual seat is that there's going to be two screws in the back holding it on. One screw on this side. It's going to be in a little hole. And then there's going to be two screws up front at the bottom, one on each side. And if you take all those off, you'll be able to pull this whole plastic piece off in one piece.
Yeah, so you don't have to separate, because this is actually in three different sections. So you don't have to separate the pieces. Once the screws are off, the whole plastic section will all come off in one piece.
So we can
do. So you want to start pulling all the screws?
Cool. You want to pull it back?
Yeah.
So, first thing we'll do is there's actually the top cover is just kind of looped on here. We can get this out of the way. You can leave the clips on there, and that's gonna make it easier back there. But up here, there's one here and one here. Dropped somewhere.
Oh, here it is right here. Get it?
Okay.
So the first screw is right there. Second one's gonna be right back up in here.
Okay, keep those and then we'll tilt it forward. And that's gonna have to turn.
You can use a drill on this, but there's not that many screws. We're just running just a regular Phillips screwdriver, and they're not too long either, so. Let me tilt it, get it out.
Yeah. It's not quite loose. Yeah. All right, there we go.
Yep,
Fell out.
okay. Then we need the back ones.
Yep.
Okay.
So when this comes
Hold
up,
that
there's
flap
one
up for you.
screw here and one screw here.
All right, perfect.
And then,
Now, I probably need to pull these pieces off next.
so we're gonna get the pry tool.
Yeah, so all your power control switches have these plastic, the bars that you actually push forward and back. These just pop off. Take a little pry tool or a flathead, and they just pop off. Set those to the side. There we go. Now there's going to be two other Phillips screws here. Now these screws are little silver screws. All the other ones are black screws. Now they're going to have some different threads to them. So when you're putting it all back together, just make sure that the two silver screws that you use are going to be on the side for this control panel. All right. Now start pulling plastic.
What we're gonna need to do is lift up because there's some plastic tabs in here.
Yeah, there's a couple plastic pieces that clip together. They're not real hard to take apart, but you just kind of pull them apart. And I'll show you a tab on the inside of this once we get this thing cleared off.
Okay, and then the other side you're gonna wanna lift as well.
Okay.
And then we're gonna want to lift up the outside, or this side, because this is still screwed in right here. And these are the other only 2 silver screws, and these are pretty identifiable. So
This, I believe, is going to be your lumbar knob, lumbar button that puts the lumbar into your back. So we just unscrew that whole plug assembly from the back side here.
all right.
There we go. Awesome.
And then
Now towards the back, how we were talking about a minute ago, when you're pulling the plastic off, you got to kind of, when you're starting at the back, to lift up and out. There's let's see, there's a tab right here. Okay, there's a little hole, little plastic piece that comes out that's got a hole in it, and there's one very similar on the other side as well. And so on the cover, on the plastic trim itself, here we go. So we've got this, here's the round peg that'll go seat down in that hole, and this side here has got just kind of a square peg that goes down into another plastic tab on this side. So when you're putting it back on, you got to kind of come up above it and then push down so that the peg sits down in there. It gives you a little extra support, which is nice. So we'll set that to the side.
And then over here, holding this on, there will be 3 more screws. One here, here, and here, and these 2 are, you've got to really get up in there to get them. Gotta.
All of our covers are going to be factory match, so not only just color, but grain, stitching, all the clips and how they hook on underneath is going to be just like the factory. So whenever you're taking it apart, the reassembly, putting the new cover on is going to go in the exact same order, same type of clips. So everything should hook onto the frame properly, just like the original factory one that you took off. So it's not just kind of a close match. It should match up just like the original one did to be able to get a new bottom, fix up your bottom cover or the top, whatever you need to replace.
Edit this out. The black plastic tab got in the way,
Oh yeah.
so it fell out.
Coming off?
Oh,
Take
you
a look.
have the 3rd screw in there. And then we can just leave these hanging right here.
Okay, so now that all that stuff's unscrewed, taken off the frame, we're going to start undoing all the connections that hold the cover onto the frame itself. I'm going to move this plastic piece down so we have a little more room. Flip this guy back. So on the first one we're going to do, there's a long clip that runs around the front edge all the way around to about here, and then over here on this side, right, roughly there. So I'm just going to reach up underneath and grab it and kind of just roll it backwards to clip it off. We'll come around the front side so I can get to it easier. this off. A lot of the edges around the frame are really sharp. So if it's something where it's a lot easier to use a flathead or a pry tool or something to get in when it's right up on the metal to get it to separate. So over here. There's a couple different ways that covers will clip on. Some of them will just wrap right over in the plastic clip, hooks right onto the frame. This one rolls all the way over. So the channel for the clip is right here. Okay, so and then you get the long metal frame here. So this is going to roll, when you're putting it back on, it's going to go completely over the front, turn and roll, and then push back up into the frame for it to clip on, okay? So the point of that really is you see material all the way around the front edge. You know, it doesn't just have a leather and then just a plastic clip that you can see sewn on there. You won't be able to see the clip anymore. It's going to be completely hidden. So it rolls all the way around. All right, we got two other clips run here and here. And these hook on from the inside. They kind of make a C-channel. And the C-channel kind of goes around part of this frame here. And there's a catch on the inside of this piece that hooks around and locks onto the metal frame. So we're going to pop that off a little bit. There we go. Okay. Same thing on the other side. Okay, that's off. All right, those are free.
And there's a black plastic tab on that side too.
Yeah, tab there. So there's a couple push tabs on the sides here. Just a pry tool. Come through, and it's real short. Man, it's maybe not even a quarter inch, maybe a quarter inch, if that. Probably pull that piece off.
We're just gonna take them off so we don't lose them.
There we go.
And then set them with the screws.
Then at the very back of the cover, there's the carpet flap that wraps around the frame underneath. That's gonna be held on with hog rings. So there's 4 hog rings that hook on across here. Okay, so this one you need a pair of snips. We're going to cut these hog rings off. There we go. When we get all the little fragments off, because they're sharp and you don't want to have them nick anything. So that's going to be free in there. Okay, all right, so now we're going to set the seat back up. We're going to pull the cover off now. Okay, so we're going to lift this straight up. We're going to pull the foam cushion and the cover off in just one whole unit. So this just will slide through. Make sure there's nothing catching.
We've got to unclip.
Oh, we got a plastic tab on there, yeah.
There's
Let's see.
a little.
I need some needle nose to pinch that, probably.
Yeah.
Let's see. There we go.
That should be good. I'm going to pull this.
Yeah. So you pinch the back side of that one. See, yeah,
I'll
pinch the
hold
left
this
and
out.
right. Let's shoot. Okay, so on the back of this cover, there's a couple of these plastic tabs that are sewn onto it, and some of the wiring has little push connections that go in there and clip into it. So we disconnected the pieces that were hooked into here. Some of the connections have, well, I'll get a better shot where I can show that here shortly.
Turn it around.
Yeah, let me show that. Okay, so these little tabs here will push through, and there's they kind of fan out on both sides. So if you had some needle nose pliers, when you can pinch in on it, the sides collapse in, and then it'll come out. So it just pushes in and it self-snaps in place. If you need to take it out, take some needle nose pliers, squeeze both sides, and that piece will come out. That's how they were attached to that plastic piece on the back of the seat, or the seat cover. Yeah. Okay, now with the frame to the side, I'm going to go ahead and take the cover off. So you don't want to just rip the cover off. You you want to start kind of the front edge or one of the corners and just start rolling it back. You don't want to just start turning it inside out, just getting the edges around. Okay. And then we're going to see how the cover attaches to the foam. There could be Velcro, there could be hog rings. All these happen to be hog rings on this one. There's channels on the inside of the cover that follow the stitch lines, and that's what anchors it down to the foam. So on the underneath side, you'll see these long grooves, long groove in the foam here, and that's going to have where all the hog rings are that attach the cover to the foam. So we're going to take our snips and we're going to go down and cut all those hog rings off. Okay, same thing over here. Now there's a couple different types of these hog ring strips. A lot of the factory ones for Toyota and Lexus have like a little loop, fabric loop that's sewn to the cover, and then there's a metal bar that they slide through it. So a lot of the older stuff ran this style deal with having just the loop sewn and then the metal bar going through it. Some of the newer stuff that we're using now, it's got a fabric piece that has a plastic rail that's crimped to the end of the fabric. Does the exact same thing, it's just two ways of doing the same thing. But the new cover, when it comes in, you won't have to reuse all your metal bars. You can just throw those to the side because you're not going to need to reuse all that. Now you can see this is that newer style clip. We sewed this one on because the factory one had kind of rotted off and they wasn't holding on anymore. So we sewed a new strip on here. So this is the plastic piece that's crimped on to the end of the fabric. It takes the place of this with a metal bar that's shoved through it. Okay. So when you see that difference, that's all it is. It's going to do the same thing. It's a little bit easier to work with than having the metal bar in the way. Okay. Get all the little clips. All right, two things, yeah. When you get the cover off, you want to address the foam because the foam's going to have worn down over time from use, getting in and out of the car all the time. So one thing we can really do to it is to steam the foam, and steam will help the foam kind of puff back up, swell back up. Because you want the foam to be as close to original as it was, in terms of size, with it all puffed back out. So when you put the new cover on, all the seam lines are lining up on the right spot where they need to fall and everything. So I'm going to start steaming this out. Christy's going to walk you through some of the stuff in regards to the heaters, because your vehicle's going to have most likely have the heated seats, and you'll need to transfer the heater from your original cover over to the new one. So she's going to walk you through how that goes while I'm steaming this thing out. Here's the heater.
All right, so we've already cut this one out. And as you can see, I actually drew the coil lines on here so you can see where the heating coils are actually in this heater. So this was inside, and they actually had an extra piece of foam over the heater. So what you'll want to do is you won't actually see this heater, but you'll see the wires coming out, and you'll want to, right along the seam line, snip that foam out and go right along the seam line all the way on each side and go all the way down to the clip so that you won't have a weird line from extra foam right on the corner of your seat. It might look a little weird.
Just a pair of scissors, just follow all the way right up as close to the seam line as you can, because you don't want to cut across the coil, and the coil obviously doesn't go into the seam line, but they get pretty close. So just falling right on the edge and cutting that heater out, because when we transfer it over, we're going to attach the heater to the foam cushion and then put the new cover on over it. We're not going to re-sew it into the cover or anything like that. Yeah. We're just going to attach it onto the heater, onto the foam.
So that's pretty straightforward there. The only thing is on this side, after you cut the foam off, it may just be like attached with little plastic tabs, but so you can just snip those and it'll be really easy. The heater is actually in 3 different places on this cover, so on your side panel over here, and the center of the seat. But you can just cut this out, and then Brian's gonna show you how to glue this down to your foam and reconnect it so that you can still have your heated seats.
Perfect. The glue that we'll use, I use a different contact adhesive in our spray guns. You can use, but you know, if you don't have that, that stuff can get more expensive for what you need to do one job. 3M makes a lot of sprayed adhesives, contact adhesives that you can get at Lowe's or Home Depot or Walmart or anything. You know, $5-6 a can or roughly. They make a bunch of different types of sprays adhesives. So you want to get the one that does for foam and rubber. But pick up a can of that. And when we glue it on, we're not going to spray the whole surface. We're going to shoot some spots on the corners everywhere. And we can also see, when you hold that up to the light, if you took the heating pad and held it up to the light, you can actually see the coils snaking through it. So we want to make sure that we don't, I just don't want to put glue underneath where the heating coils, you know, go. So we're going to glue mainly just the part that's just the foam itself. So we'll kind of be careful of that when we're gluing it back on. If you can see the foam, it's starting to swell. It'll swell back up just with the steam. You see it starting to puff back up. And you don't have to have a commercial steamer. Just a regular, you know, garment steamer will work just fine. It's just getting that steam to penetrate down into the foam so that it puffs back out real good. If your left edge is really worn and just it smashed down really bad, you can take some extra foam. You can get some extra upholstery foam, just sheet foam or rolled foam, and you can layer and glue on extra foam on top on the left edge to kind of build it back up. If it's pretty hammered, you could also take it to a local upholstery shop. If you had the seat stripped down to this point, where you just hand them the foam, any shop like this is going to be very well versed in doing repair on the foam. You could have a professional go and rebuild that cushion for you so that it's got some good foam on the left edge from getting in and out, because it's going to get pretty beaten down over the years. This one wasn't in too bad a shape.
Yeah.
If I were putting it back in a customer's truck, I may add some more on this left side, but for demonstration purposes on how this thing goes on, we should be good. All right, so that's pretty well steamed. Now I'd let this dry out before I put the new cover on. The air compressor, get the air dry over it, so it's good and dry. You don't want a bunch of moisture in there before you put the new cover on. I'm also going to go through here and make sure I've got all the little fragments of the hog rings that we cut off. We're going to pull those out. Is the needles over there?
Yeah.
All right, sweet. Make sure we get all these fished out of here. If you don't have a set of hog ring pliers, it's something you're really going to need to do the install on this. Being that these channels are really deep down in there, it would make it really difficult to do without having some hog ring pliers. We sell some hog ring pliers on our site as well. So if you need a set of hog ring pliers, if you don't have one in your toolbox, go ahead and pick a set up. They're a decent pair. They're not spring loaded. Your higher end ones are going to have springs on it to hold the ring in place while you're trying to get it set into before you crimp it. But hog ring pliers are going to be pretty important to put them on. There's a lot of rings in here, and they're really deep down in there, so it's going to be really hard to do it with a needle nose or anything else. So, a really good set of hog ring pliers may cost you $25 or something. Our set's quite a bit cheaper, but get the job done. So, all right, all the rings, all the little fragments are out. We're going to go ahead and glue the heater over onto the foam cushion. So, let's see. That way? There we go. So there's one slit that's in the middle here. So this slit is cut in the heater to leave room for the cover to hog ring in the middle here, because it's going to anchor there. So this is giving us the gap there so we can still get the cover and hog rings down into that slot. So we want to make sure we're lined up good there. There we go. This will come down the side, as well as this. Okay. There we go. We get it placed on pretty well, and then we're going to come back with some glue and hit some of these spots. But we're lining the heater back up, leaving space for the hog rings to go back through there, for the cover to go back on. This one, we actually cut the wires for the heater that goes down, that attaches underneath the frame, so we just snipped that. When you're transferring your heater over, you're going to have your long pigtail wire cable coming out the back. It's just going to come straight out from there, so that'll just be hanging out the back of the cover, hanging straight off the back. When we put the new cover on, then that wire will snake back around and connect underneath the frame. So this is lined up pretty good here. We're going to go and take some spray adhesive and shoot some of our corners. I'm probably going to shoot here, and I'll probably shoot underneath all these little tabs down to the foam along the way on the front. We're going to shoot some there, and one probably on the edges. Kind of going to do a little bit of the perimeter shots around. So it doesn't take much, just enough to kind of tack it into place. It. I'm also going to glue right where it falls over, and where the hog ring strip is here. So I'll shoot a little shot here. Hold that. Hold there. And then on the front edge, I'm going to shoot. I'm going to go in the middle there. Like that. Go. There, okay. Let's get on this side.
I'll like show them the back of the seat.
Run out of air. Run out of air. Got enough though. That'll be all right. There we go. All right. Okay, so that's pretty secure there. And it's, you know, when you put the cover on, there's not really many places it can move around because the cover is going to be all hooked in all these channels and then wrapped around tight on it. So, but we do want to keep it tacked in place. You know, that's why we go ahead and get it glued down. So, what I'll do, I'm going to put the cover, start hogging the cover on here, and then we're going to slide it onto the frame. So I'm going to flip the cover where it's inside out. What's that? You know, so flip over. Okay. There we go. So I'll start in the middle on this center hogging strip, and then we'll run down the sides. So I'll fold this guy in half, kind of where the center part is, so I can line my cover up. And I can look down this seam line, so I can see these seams here to match up with the channel, and same thing on this side. That way I'll make sure I'm not pulled too far left or right, make sure I'm pretty centered between there. And then I'm gonna look down in here and see where my hogging strip is. I need to go forward a little bit. Okay, now take hogging pliers. Let's get this channel pushed down. Okay. So there's just a metal bar that's embedded into the foam. Okay, and then there's, you know, the rail that's on the edge of these hogging clips, these hogging listings here. And so the hogging pliers just have little grooves cut in the tips of them. So when you put the hogging in there, it holds it. And then when you crimp it, it just bends it into a triangle, which just holds the two things together, the metal bar that's in the foam with the pieces sewn on the cover so they join together. And you'll see where each hogging needs to go because you'll see the exposed metal bar that's in it, so you know where each one is. You don't have to guess or be worried about, you know, where the other ones were before. It's very apparent. You'll see little 3/4 inch section exposed in the foam that has the metal wire in it. So, all right, so those are there in the middle. We're going to go down the sides now. Okay, so basically doing the same thing. I'm going to shove the hogging listing down through there, and then I'm going to come back with my hoggings and crimp it onto the metal wire of the foam. Now, when we ship you the cover, we'll send you a little baggie of hoggings with it. We'll give you a bunch of extra too. Last thing you want to do is run out of hoggings when you're putting it on. But it will come with a bag of hoggings for you to be able to get the install done. Okay, that's it. I'm sure I got them all. Is there? Okay, flip it. Look at this side. Okay. Yep, okay, now all of our rings are on. We're going to roll the cover around all the corners over the foam, and then we'll put it back onto the frame here. So I'll start in one of the corners, either front, left, front, right, doesn't matter. One hand on the inside, with my fingers just pushing right up against this edge, And I'm gonna push against the foam as well, pushing in on the foam and then pushing out with the cover and roll. You wanna roll that edge over. You don't wanna ever let your fingers come off of contact with the material, because if you just try to pull over the corner and just try to pull it down, you're gonna get so many wrinkles and stuff there, it's gonna take forever to try to get all that stuff out. So having a good roll down the side, or, you know, on that front corner makes a big difference. So we'll do the same thing here. I'm pulling over here to pull slack out of that, and we're gonna roll that edge down, okay? And then we'll work our way back, okay? So now it's wrapped around when you put on the frame, so then we can start hooking these clips and really get it tightened up. So, all right, let's move this forward.
Real quick.
Yeah. So typically, we should have our heater cable coming out the back of this. Just assume it's there right now. So we'll stick this through and show you.
Oh, you want to put it? We can tilt it up real quick and I'll show them where it would
Yeah.
be.
Go back. Yeah.
So if that heater, this is where we cut the wire, and this would run all the way up. It's going to be clipped onto here. You can just pry that off, and then it has a little green connection, and you can use the needle nose pliers to pull this out, so that way when your heater is actually on your seat and you're pulling the bottom off, just pull this whole thing off. It'll come off. We just left it on because we didn't need to pull it off.
Yeah, because we'd already cut it. So when you were taking it off, the whole cushion and cover won't come off because the cable is still going to be hooked on. So that green connector, there's a little push tab on one side that undoes. There's this other little plastic connection here that's right here that holds it onto the seat, the coils here on the springs. That'll pop off. The little flathead will get in there, and you can pop the top of it open. The little flap opens up, and it'll drop off there. And that's it. So you'd have to undo those connections to be able to pull the cover completely off when the wire's still connected. So, okay. So first I'm going to feed the back part of the pocket here through the frame. And then we're going to start working the foam backwards to fit on. So there's a big, across the back, there's going to be a metal round tube across the back, and on the foam cushion, there's a corresponding kind of hump that tube needs to fit into. So when you're pushing it back through here, let's flip this around so you guys can see that. We want to make sure that we pull the foam around
Over that bar.
Right, so here's this bar. This foam's gonna have to come back
I got it.
and go all the way over it. We'll get the front, I'll push from back here. Okay, I'm gonna push from here if you can make sure it's lapped up.
Yeah, it's coming.
Is it?
Okay, a little bit more in the center. Okay.
Yep.
So we got all of this foam over this bar.
Perfect.
That's gonna be.
Now we can also double check on the front side. Okay, I'm gonna move this frame back. You can tell also here, if there's a big gap between the top of this plate where the frame is and the lip of the front of the foam, if the foam's, an inch or two above it, then you know it's not seated all the way back in, okay? So this is lined up pretty good where that foam comes down. Now we're gonna hook all the clips around the front, so I'm gonna come around there so we can get these clips to hook on. Okay, so now we're going to turn this clip to here, okay? So now this is going to come down with it quite a bit, and then it's going to roll over and push back up into the frame, okay? So we're going to have to stretch this, pull pretty good on this to get some extra slack. I'm going to cut some of this foam off the front rail. So I don't want this to get in the way when I'm trying to clip that clip, so I'll trim a little of that off. This is part of that heating pad that came to all the way to the front. There's no heating coils at the very front of this thing, so we're not worried about cutting across a wire. You'll hear and feel it snap when you roll it and push it in. Okay. You want to be really careful on the corners where it starts to make the curve that the metal rim here is actually set into the channel. If it's not set, it's going to keep popping off, and it'll start in the corner and it's going to work its way all the way across. The clip will keep coming undone. Okay, here's that.
Do you want to mention or clip this one?
Yeah, I'll get that one once we get this thing clipped. There we go. All right, so that's clipped all the way around. Okay, so there's two clips here and here. Okay, here's that channel that's on the side. It's kind of a funky clip. It's got like a big C channel, okay? And there's a catch right on the inside lip right there. And then there's a catch here too. So we got this flat metal part of the frame, and this is gonna do a complete roll over and all the way underneath, okay? And then the backside is gonna catch, that little clip's gonna catch the backside of that rail. And these guys can be tricky. There, it's clipping, okay. There we go. Okay, so that's all the way on. That's clipped around. It's kind of a funky roll. I had to get it there, but that's how it clips on, okay? And there's another one on the other side. There's just not as much room to work, but we're gonna work over there now. Okay. Here's the other one. So this one's got a same clip, but there's a section in the frame it's really cut out just for the size of this clip. So there's a little notch here and a notch at the bottom, just kind of notched out of this flat part that this thing fits right inside of. So if you're too far high or low, it won't hook on. So we're gonna try to wrap this guy around. Here we go. Okay, sweet. That's hooked. Now, we've got our little push tabs. They're going to go on the side here. Okay, so I'm going to trim a hole a little bit bigger so I can get that tab through. Okay. Here we go. Okay, that's that side. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Okay. Okay. All right, there's that. So next, let's see.
Hovering the bottom.
Yeah, pull the back flap. Okay, now this is one piece that we're going to want to reuse, the metal bar. All the hog rings on the surface, we could use the new clips that we're sewn onto it. But the back carpet does have a metal bar that feeds through. So we're going to rob that one off the old cover. There we go. And ours has a little loop sewn in it as well. We're just going to feed that guy through. Okay. That gives the hog ring something to hold on to so it doesn't rip the material. Okay. And you can see where each hog ring needs to go because there's going to be a slit in the carpet. So that each hog ring will go there. There's 4 hog rings all the way across. And they hook on to this metal coil. Okay. All right, that is that part. We hook the flaps on? Okay, so what are those little white clips?
They're still on there.
Oh, okay, sweet. Yeah, they're right up here. So here's these little clips in case they come off.
Right up.
Little white clip. This part of it here, some of the metal coils for the springs underneath slide through that and hook on, and then the elastic strap hooks through the big part of this loop there to hold on to it. So these are just stuck up in here. There we go. Okay, these are the straps. If this was the bottom heater, we'd go ahead and make this connection back here. And then it's all set. These elastic straps will pull up and just loop through. That's what holds that up underneath. So flip this up. We're gonna work on smoothing out the cover now that it's on, and then we're gonna come back and put all the plastic trim on it. So what we want to do is we want to pull, let's see, we have everything included? Yeah, everything's good. We want to pull from these seam lines here. I'm going to grab from that seam line and pull out with my fingers. I'm running through the leather here and pushing in. Hold that a second. And I'll push in on the foam with my thumbs. So we're going to pull here, and I'm pulling the material down. I want to pull the slack out. Do that all the way down. Same thing here. I'm going to push out and then in with these fingers. Really get that to set nice. Okay, perfect. That's gonna sit there. We'll go ahead and put the plastic on, then we're gonna come back and steam right at the very end. So let's start trimming the plastic stuff on. I guess screw the control panels on first.
Yep. We got to do that first.
Yeah. I go put the, oh yeah, this
That
little,
thing.
yep. Okay, on the side, there's another little piece of plastic. This piece here, it's gonna roll all the way around and go up into this little groove on this metal lip here. So it's gonna roll, kind of a double roll. It's gonna go all the way around so this leather is facing the very top. So it doesn't just go over and hook, it's gonna do a complete roll, kind of like that front edge clip. So that's gonna go. See if I can get that to, there we go. Okay. Now it's completely rolled in there. Okay. See, all you see is nice leather finish across there. There we go. Yep. Okay. Sweet. Now we're going to screw the control. You want to go and put the panels on these pieces?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead and screw the control panel back on. So we'll throw it on the side. These are all part of the little black screws that there's a bunch of. So there's going to be 3 holding that main control panel on.
That hole's a little bit hard to find, but it's up there. You can pull this.
Needs some help?
Just hold this right here.
Hold the leather? Okay.
Another one, and then this one's also tucked up there, but a little bit easier. Okay. And then one.
Okay.
All right, and that is solid.
You want to start going with plastic
And then-
panels, or did you have the little piece?
We're gonna need to screw. So these 2 screws
Okay.
will hold this onto the plastic.
onto the plastic. So we'll grab the plastic around, we'll screw those 2 on, then we'll start putting the plastic
Yeah.
on. Okay. So these are the other 2,
These are
somewhat
the-
silver, the kind of bronzish color,
Yeah.
but they're definitely different than all the black ones. But these 2 hold the lumbar button on into the frame. So we'll
pull
tilt this up on its side so we can drop that guy in. Hold that in place.
Okay.
Now all these screws are threading into plastic, okay? So you don't want to over torque them because you can strip it out real easy. That's why on a lot of these we just use a regular screwdriver instead of an impact or a drill or something. If you do use an impact or drill, make sure you got the setting down way low so it doesn't tighten them too hard. But you can really risk stripping out the plastic in there if you over tighten the screws. It's really easy to do. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So now, I'll line this guy up. So when we're hooking this panel on, as we talked about earlier in the beginning of the video, it's got the little slot with the hole in it here. The top of the plastic has the peg that goes down into that hole. So we want to make sure we come up above it and down to get that to hook on. So that's one thing we definitely want to make sure we got hooked on correct. I'm going to trim. There's a little hole on this side I want to show real quick. So right here there's a plastic push tab that's on the plastic frame that's going to go through this hole in the side. So there's a hole cut in the leather, but there's foam backing that's sewn to the cover. So we want to trim out all this extra foam that's on the underneath side of that hole so that it leaves room for that the catch on the trim panel to snap back into place. So we're going to just trim out the foam backing that's behind it here. Okay, there we go. Now we're good. I can move that. Okay, so you want to hook the
Line
front
these
screws or
up.
what's? Yeah.
Let's get it. Okay. So we get this around all these little tabs sticking out.
Okay, then we're going to lift. Make sure we kind of go up and over on these back pieces. Up and then down.
And it'll basically be on there, and then we'll set the screws in the back to just really solidify it. So if it's popping out a little bit, that's okay, because that screw is going to come back here and hold it in place.
There we go. Yep, there we go. Okay, that's in.
So we can do
Screws, Phillips. Okay, the screw in the back.
one.
Okay.
And then we can put one more screw is going to go in here. And we can do the others first if you want.
Yeah, let's hit those just so it lines up
Holds
good.
it up.
A little bit easier.
So let's
So we'll tip
do-
this on its back and we'll get to those front screws.
Holes lined up.
There's the last one for the side.
Okay.
There.
Hold this up. It's not lining up on the hole.
Let's see if I can push on it and line it.
Or you can do it and I'll push on it.
Oh yeah, it's
Gotta
pretty
push
close.
up. Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's on.
And then we've got two more silver screws.
Those are the ones that goes
These-
on the side. So that basically, these two screws can hold the plastic panel onto the control bezel. Just give it a little more support on that side. Once we got those on and these two control pieces back on, we're gonna start steaming the foam, the leather out, okay? Steaming is gonna help get a lot of these other little creases and little wrinkles and stuff out of it. So we're gonna hit it with a steamer and then come back with the heat gun as well to really tighten everything up. Our bottom covers for the Lexus, we're actually making in all leather. There's no vinyl on the cover anywhere. From the factory, they've got a leather on the side control panel, which most manufacturers run vinyl on the sides and leather surface. But the Lexus runs leather on the side control towards the door. But they do put vinyl on the side towards the console. But we're putting all leather on these. There's no vinyl on these covers at all. So you can use a heat gun even on the vinyl on the sides of the factory would have vinyl, but ours are leather. You can use that as well. So we're gonna start with steam. I changed from my regular long pointed wand there to the flatter one. I usually like doing this when I'm finishing the cover up. It just gets a little bit more, it disperses the steam a little bit further out. So we're just gonna steam the heck out of it. The steam won't get hot enough to where it can damage the leather. The heat gun, you can get it too hot, but the steam, you're safe with that. You can't overheat it with the steam.
Okay. All right, so while he's gonna be steaming that out, I'm gonna go ahead and talk to you about the trim codes just to make sure there's no confusion about what color you need to order. So 95% of the time when customers call in and they're asking us what color, we just tell them, give us the VIN, we can run it and pull the trim code from that. However, for a lot of the Toyotas and Lexus, that is not the case, and we cannot run the VIN number and figure out what color you have, because it'll just pull up all the colors. So inside your door jamb, there's gonna be a little sticker, and it's gonna have your VIN number on it, it's gonna have the trim code, and here's the location of the trim code. That trim code is going to tell you what color of seat you have, as well as sometimes the trim accents in your vehicle. So in this case, if you have trim code LA22, that means you're going to have black seats. And as you can see, there's a couple different codes for the same color, like FA00 and LA00 are both ivory, and LA12 is going to be gray, but it has black wood. And that's still the same gray cover that goes with LA11. It's just the only thing different in that vehicle is it has some black wood accents on the side. It does not affect the cover. So LA12 and LA11, they're going to have the gray covers. LA01, that also refers to ivory. So if you have any question whatsoever, just check that trim code on the side of your door.
That's it. We should have pictures of that in the, what trim code goes with which cover. But it's really easy to check the numbers on the inside of your door jamb. Just open your driver door. There'll be a sticker on the inside of the frame there, and you'll see you'll be able to see the big long barcode first. Once you see the barcode, just look for the trim code piece. All right, that's pretty steamy. My dirty hands all over this. We'll get a rag here in a second too. Rag over there.
Here's a clean one. Ish clean.
Yes, fine.
This one's better.
Yeah. There we go. Now, A bit more on the side here. Steam going. Okay. There we go. All right, so that really tightens it up on there. Gets any kind of little creases or wrinkles and stuff out of it. You know, the heat guns are cheap. Steamer makes a big difference having the steam. But those combination together really help really tighten the cover up on there, get all the wrinkles out, smooth it out real well. That's pretty much it for a driver bottom install for the Lexus. Here at the Seat Shop, all of our stuff is factory matched to the original, so you can do a single piece at a time, whether you need just the bottom, two bottoms, driver and passenger, well, you know, whatever pieces you need, you can buy a single piece and it'll match up with the original. If you got any questions, give us a call, 214-710-2565, or check us out on our website at theseatshop.com. Don't forget about Facebook and Instagram. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching.